US is all set to host a 3-day NATO summit aimed at demonstrating unity and solidarity among the United States and its allies in support of Ukraine. This summit, running from July 9th to 11, will highlight the commitment of these nations to help Ukraine defend itself during its ongoing crisis. In a powerful display of support and compassion, the summit will emphasize the dedication of the US and its allies to assist Ukraine as it battles intensifying Russian aggression. Administration officials have indicated that the summit will feature crucial announcements focused on increasing military, political, and financial aid for Ukraine. NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg confirmed that NATO leaders plan to pledge to maintain current levels of arms and ammunition support for Ukraine for at least another year.
Since Russia's full-scale invasion, allies have provided around 40 billion euros in military aid each year. Allies agree that this is a minimum baseline, and I expect allies will decide at the summit to sustain this level within the next year. I also expect that allies will agree to share the burden fairly, taking into account the size of their GDP, and provide a sustained level of funding for Ukraine to prevail.
He also addressed Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's visit to Moscow, clarifying, Orban is not representing NATO at these meetings, he's representing his own country.
Viktor Orban is not representing NATO at these meetings. He's representing his own country. And Prime Minister Orban, also when I met him a couple of weeks ago, we also discussed his upcoming visit to Kiev. So you may know that he also visited Kiev recently. What is important is that all allies, also Hungary, agrees that Russia is the aggressor and Russia is responsible for the war, and that Ukraine's territorial integrity and sovereignty must be respected.
A senior US administration official highlighted NATO's critical role in Euro-Atlantic security, stating, for 75 years, NATO has kept America and the world safer. NATO is the strongest defensive alliance in history, and it's been truly indispensable to Euro-Atlantic security, deterring threats to the United States and our allies. NATO is eager to increase its support for Ukraine, but faces challenges in finding innovative approaches. Currently, NATO allies contribute 99% of Ukraine's military support. The alliance is preparing to oversee equipment deliveries soon. However, two strict limits persist. NATO membership is off the table until the conflict ends, and there will be no deployment of NATO troops on Ukrainian soil. Ukrainian President Zelensky has reiterated the urgent need for enhanced air defense capabilities to mitigate Russians' assaults. He specifically called for increased supplies of air defense systems and advocated for long-range strikes on locations hosting Russian forces and their air bases. Zelensky expressed hope that decisions on supplying Ukraine with Patriot systems would materialize during the upcoming NATO summit in Washington.
We can stop all this with only one thing. Only with a large number of air defense systems. Only with long-range strikes on the locations where Russian terrorists are based on their air bases. We are actively talking about all this with our partners at all levels. We are preparing for the NATO summit in Washington, in particular, from the point of view of the Patriots for Ukraine.
The summit will start on Tuesday with President Biden welcoming NATO leaders and hosting a 75th anniversary commemoration event at the historic Mellon Auditorium. This site is significant as the location of the North Atlantic Treaty signing in 1949. On July 10th, Sweden will be formally welcomed as NATO's newest member. The evening will end with a dinner at the White House hosted by President Biden. On July 11th, NATO will meet with its Indo-Pacific partners, Australia, Japan, South Korea, and New Zealand, to discuss resilience, cyber disinformation, and technology. The summit will also address concerns about China and involve key non-NATO partners to tackle global challenges. Addressing the media ahead of the summit, President Biden highlighted the global significance of the event. The world's looking to us, not a joke. The world is looking to America not to carry their burden, but to lead their hopes, he remarked. The timing of the summit is intended to send a clear message to Russia. Together, the Washington summit will send a strong signal to Putin that if he thinks he can outlast the coalition of countries supporting Ukraine, he's dead wrong, an official stated. Despite the summit's ambitious agenda, there are underlying concerns among allies regarding President Biden's recent debate performance. The Washington Post reported that allies are particularly anxious about the potential return of former President Donald Trump to the White House as they prepare for the summit.